Hey everyone, I am excited for this, webinar or panel, whatever you want to call it, talking all about the gig economy, freelancers. I'll introduce myself and then we'll have everyone kind of go around and introduce themselves. My name is Nathan. I'm a longtime e-commerce seller. I started FreeUp, a marketplace for pre-vetted freelancers 3 years ago, and I just love talking about the gig economy and everything that it has to offer.
Cool. If you don't mind, I can go next. My name is Tiana. My consulting business is called Startup Setup. So my background is in software engineering and product management. And for the past 8 years, I've been working fully remotely as a freelancer and with freelancers. And nowadays, basically, I help companies, startups, or small operations or spin-offs to specify their software products and then get around the teams of freelancers, introduce the proper tools and processes for this kind of work and team management, and then launch their products. So my whole model is heavily based on freelance marketplaces and freelance power.
Go ahead, buddy.
My name is Luke. I'm the founder of Nomad Playground, and we are a review site for freelancer marketplaces and other companies that hire online or that you can find work with online. You can think of us as a sort of glass door for remote work. If you want to know where online you can find quality jobs in your industry, you come to our site and you see what other people in your industry are saying about those particular job marketplaces.
Hi, everybody. Eric. I'm Amazon seller, and I'm also a consultant for a lot of e-commerce brands and help Amazon sellers launch their products and scale their businesses.
I'm Jules. I've been selling online since 2009. As well as Eric, I'm an Amazon seller, private brand builder, and also help consult with clients.
Awesome. So we've got two e-com sellers and freelancers. We've got someone who owns a review site, a Glassdoor type site for marketplaces. We have more of a freelancer agency that uses platforms, and we have an owner of an agency. So I'm kind of excited to dive right into it. I'd love to start with the freelancers, with Jules, with Eric. I'd love to hear kind of your background of how you got into freelancing and the different services that you offer and why you got into it. What made you take that change?
Sure. So, my background is in multi-channel marketing and technology. So I was working in the content space, did a lot of stuff with Walmart, with Pepsi. And while I was working for various agencies, I started learning a bit more about e-commerce and the power of, everything from Amazon to Shopify. And so I launched an Amazon business on the side, private label, and was able to scale it up pretty quickly. This was early 2016. And in that time, still working, right? You start to realize that you can't do everything yourself. And so I connected up with some really good freelancers to subcontract out some work, and I started seeing the business scaling. And it's been kind of nonstop in that sense ever since, working with, groups like FreeUp. You can very quickly you can multiply your productivity exponentially by outsourcing properly to the right team, and then you just build these really good systems and processes in place, and you can just repeat those processes and scale pretty quickly. And so I kind of transitioned full time as an e-commerce seller, but also as a freelancer in the sense that I started consulting for other folks that were launching their Amazon businesses, or even just had an existing e-com business and didn't know, how to leverage the power of Facebook ads, influencers, so social media marketing, how to track, conversions for landing pages. So, I learned a lot by working with some really good folks, and then obviously made a lot of mistakes. And so those things combined just makes you that much better when you're hiring folks out to build your team and help your clients.
And I started to build private label brands and focus specifically on Amazon. And I realized that I was sort of a bottleneck and needed additional resources and help. So I started looking around on all the platforms, Upwork, Fiverr, FreeUp. And through that time, I started to build an internal team, and that kind of freed up some of my time So I figured, let me try and offer my services to other people similar to myself. And that's when Nathan and his team asked if I like to join FreeUp as a consultant. Once I went through the vetting process, I started with one client thinking I'd only be working about 5 hours per week additionally. And that kind of snowballed and scaled rather quickly into a whole list of clients. It's about 2.5 years now.
Awesome. So we talked a little bit about Amazon. Luke, what kind of work or what kind of skill set do you see freelancers offering? I mean, you seem to work with a lot of different marketplaces in all different industries, but are there some commonalities? Like what skill sets do you see in the most demand?
Well, the word is kind of out on remote work when it comes to like tech in particular. Like there's a large demand is bigger for IT jobs just generally. But you can really do anything online at this point. However, there still is this idea out there that, this is really only for tech jobs. The famous marketplaces right now are typically really IT heavy, like Upwork, Fiverr, Freelancer, like all of these sites, regardless of how good or not good they are. Like those are the big names right now in this space, and they are very, very IT heavy, and they do not review well among anybody in the creative spaces such as design and things like that. So the answer to who is getting work online, like it's across industry. Like I've seen niche marketplaces out there for medical, for legal, for things that require you to be in a specific jurisdiction, much less things that more easily translate online. So it's not really a question of what people are freelancing online with, or what you can hire roles out for online to get people to do. It's a matter of where good talent is, and it's a matter of, if you're on the freelancing side, it's a matter of what platform is going to be right for you.
Makes sense. Tajana, what I'm butchering your name. Can you say your name again?
Diana.
Oh my God. So what type of businesses do you see that you work with or that are out there? I mean, I know when FreeUp started, we were much more around e-commerce, and then we kind of expanded to marketing agencies, real estate agents, stuff like that. Are there certain types of businesses that you think work well with remote freelancers?
I think, as Luke mentioned, IT is still leading. Probably e-commerce is close now as well, but IT started first with the remote work and freelancing, and I think it's still leading. And since my background is in software engineering, I basically focus on that. But nowadays, when I start working with a startup, we don't only hire programmers anymore. We also need everything from the designers, copywriters, video editing, graphics, design, many other roles that we need in the team. And for that reason, for example, as Luke mentioned, some of the marketplaces are good because they're very specific for certain area. But for me, actually, I need to use those marketplaces that have all kinds of freelance services offered, because if I work with one client and on behalf of this client, I hire the whole team, it's much easier for me to have all the work logs and invoices and everything in one place. Instead of like going to all different platforms, it would be kind of a nightmare to administrate all of that. So like in my case, I still use those global marketplaces, but I'm lucky that most of the services I need are in the IT area. So then it works, because these global marketplaces are usually mostly populated by IT related gigs and freelance services.
Now, when you say IT, are you talking about support? Are you talking about developers? Are you talking about something else?
So I work with clients who develop software products, software applications. So we have everything from like software architecture, data science, like really deep server-side engineering to like graphic UI, UX. And as I mentioned, we often need also services of copywriters, etc. when we want to have like a nice landing page and go ahead with the product we launched. But what I wanted mostly to emphasize here is in any type of business, be it software development or e-commerce, is that the freelancers, we get to go super lean, because we can start with really small investments. We don't need to have an office and full-time employees, etc. We don't even have to have a very strict plan in our mind. We can start with a couple of freelancers working on part-time basis, see how it works, get our first like super minimal MVP launched, get first feedback from the market, and then take it from there. And this is giving completely new level to being lean. and being agile and being adjustable and being flexible. And it used to be complicated, the whole hiring process, but now with the freelance marketplace, I can literally get somebody within a few hours to join the team. And it means that I can get a new person in the team literally anytime I want. So I don't need to hesitate and plan too much in advance. If we feel that we need somebody, we're going to get this person quite easily via Freelance Marketplaces. We don't need to take care about all the contracts and payments. Everything is taken care of. I'm sure Nate, you can tell more about this, but me as somebody who's using Freelance Marketplaces, I really love that. It's super simple and I don't mind paying fees or anything because it's an amazing service and it actually definitely pays off. That's it. So it's really easy. I also wanted to add that this type of management of team is different because you don't have full-time employees. You have people who work on other projects at the same time. So you cannot count on them being there for you all the time. You need to have different type of like asynchronous tasks, allocation, etc. But that's something I work with my clients, and if done right, it can really work very well.
Yeah, and I think you kind of merge into the next question, which I'll take, is the kind of different arrangements that you can have with freelancers, because it really offers you a ton of flexibility as a business owner. I mean, I have full-time virtual assistants that work on all different schedules. I've got graphic designers and writers that are completely flexible that I pay per article. I have marketers that are on monthly retainers that handle either my Instagram or my Twitter or my Facebook ads. And then I do fixed price projects with different developers that come up that's more on and off. So it really just gives you pure flexibility, whether you're a startup with a limited budget that can do more project-based work rather than ongoing, or you're doing over $5 million a year and you can have people billing you 800 plus hours a week, plus some fixed prices, plus retainers. So there's just a lot of options there. There's a lot of different ways that people do billing. I know FreeUp doesn't do a percentage of sales, but I've seen freelancers that do hourly or fixed price plus some kind of percentage, or have bonuses that go out on top of it. So it really allows you a lot of flexibility and allows you to grow with the freelancers. I know that with a lot of freelancers that helped me out back when we started FreeUp 3 years ago, I put in arrangements where their pay would go up over time depending on how the business did. And they took risk up front, and now it's paying off for them because they're making a lot more than they would on some other platform. So there's a lot of different ways you can structure it to fit your business needs. I'll kind of go back around, going to Luke, just talking a little bit about payments and security, since you deal with all these different marketplaces. Have you heard horror stories? Have you seen things that work or things that don't work in the industry?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, on Nomad Playground, we have a blacklist. Like if a company or a platform doesn't pay its people, or if they, get like a certain like number of reviews or feedback that is the case, we just put them on the blacklist. And usually, I mean, one of the biggest elements, maybe the biggest element, when it comes to hiring freelancers online or working for clients online is the trust factor. So like that's pretty crucial. So, I mean, most of these platforms will have an escrow system, and there will be very heated debates between, on forums and interviews among clients or freelancers based on like what direction they feel the platform leans. Like a platform might lean more towards, like they might favor the clients in most of their cases if there is a dispute, or they might favor the freelancers, and that really varies. And I can't call, which is better or worse as an overall, as like a blanket statement, because it's a very individual case. But platforms that have trouble paying their people do not last very long.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And I think it's tough as a marketplace owner, that balancing act, because you really want to leave every situation with both sides happy. And it doesn't always work out that way, even though you do the best that you can. And I think one thing that we've kind of realized is there's so many different places for freelancers to offer service that if you're not supporting the freelancers as much as you're supporting the clients and making sure that they're getting paid and that they feel like that disputes are handled fairly, then people leave and it's tough to compete with tons of other competition out there. So it really is that fine line. And I know how quickly your reputation can just get destroyed. I mean, I've seen freelancers that'll say, hey, stay away from this agency, stay away from this client, they don't pay. And it really does stick around with you. Moving on back to Jules, what kind of communication do you use when you're dealing with clients? I know we kind of talked about payment and the disputes, but all that stuff, it usually started off with poor communication or not being on the same page up front. What do you see that works and that doesn't work when you're dealing with all these people around the world remotely?
Well, as you mentioned, communication is key, whether talking to clients or your own consultants or VAs that you have. Skype we use constantly, daily basis, WeChat, WhatsApp. There's no hiding. Whoever you need to contact, you can get in touch with them. And being a consultant, I know that those clients have pressing matters and you need to be available, whether it's in, let's say, Israel, Hong Kong, London, whatever time zone, Australia. You need to make sure you know those hours and be available for those clients, especially when there's pressing matters. It all comes down to communication, and with so many channels, they're all free. So there's no reason to be hidden or off the grid.
Hey everyone, I'm making content like this all the time. If you like this video, please comment and like below. Also, click the subscribe button to get even more content brought to you. Thanks again for watching, and I'll be back at the end of the next video to remind you again.